Good evening and welcome to Maria's Taco Express.
Yay!
Yay! This is Oz, Mike, City, Poetry and Music right here on December the 17th, I believe it is.
Right.
December 17th, 2013. This is our last show of the year. We'll be back in 3 weeks, the second week in January.
Yeah.
And who knows if it will be colder or warmer then. Probably colder, but we're all warm here in our hearts.
Yeah.
And as always, we start off the festivities with Thom, the world poet.
Thank you very much.
At this time of the year, everyone's going back over the year. Soon they'll embrace 2014, but right now, retrospectives in every magazine and everything. So I thought, why don't we do the same for poetry? So last night, through some strange karmic power, we go to a heavy metal thrash bar, and now called Metal and Lace, but it really is Headhunters. It's got the primitive vomit still on the floor. It's got the dusty original cockroaches and a black cat that comes up to you and asks for rent. But anyway, the story is, good poets get there before the show. And we were there before the show, and the manager was there, and he was fuming and fulminating about the nature of the police and how he has people banging on the door at 2 a.m. in the morning because they're addicted to alcohol and they're addicted to antidotes to loneliness. If they ever have to face their own existential angst, they can't bear it, so they sedate themselves one way or the other. And they bang at the door, I want more, whatever you've got, I want more. And he was saying, the way you tapped was gentle, the way they tapped was desperate. But I have this, and he brings forth a log. It's like a primitive medieval castle log. You have those two hooks and you put the bar over and they cannot get through that. And that's the real bar in the bar. So we're the bards, not barred from the bar. And he tells us a story about how if you really want to be successful, what you got to do these days is you've got to be weekly. You got to get the stuff on the internet, you got to have features. Now, Michael Aaron Casares is a wonderful poet and the host of this series and the initiator and continuation of it, and he's absorbing this like a shockwave because the power of this personality is very, what I say, New York, New Jersey. Now in New Jersey they're very, very sports lovers because in the back of every car they've got a baseball bat. And in New York it's always, I haven't got the time, hit yourself, I gotta move on. And of course he's straight to the core. He likes what we do because we don't fit in. And he likes the quixotic, eccentric nature of expression. Sometimes he even sits and listens to the poems, and I hear him listening. And he's got a very, very good ear and a sharp mind. And he talks about power and games and what you do, and he says, and when things get grim, what you have to do is withdraw your vibration, hide from them, wear a mask. And I think of Woody Allen's film Zelig about the man who could adopt his persona appropriate to all different environments. And I think about the fact that it was a wonderful thing that he told us that we have to shapeshift in order to present ourselves to the world as it changes too. Because we can't peddle the 19th century idea of poetry or even the 20th century idea of poetry or even the 21st century idea of poetry if there's any left anyway. All that really matters is this island tonight. And it was that island last night. And he gave us two gifts. He said, you can do it weekly and you can have features. So straight away the Russian poet Vasilina Orlova was the first feature for January 4th, 2014. And it's hard. You have a calendar and you're so used to saying 2013 the whole year, you know. It was hard going from 2012, you know, and then you get stuck in 2013. And it's going to take about 3 weeks for our tongues to be able to flow with 2014. We don't believe it because we're so caught up in our own, I speak for myself, in our own time zone. That to project into a possible future seems a very daring thing to do. It's easy to fall back into nostalgia. Austin is the nostalgia capital of America. Everyone talks about the 60s in Austin, the 70s in Austin, the 80s in Austin, the 90s in Austin. They talk about yesterday in Austin, as I'm doing right now. But this was last night. And once again, of course, the ritual begins. But he gave us these two gifts, and suddenly there was an extra dimension. Because it doesn't really matter where you are. You could be in the middle of hell doing a poetry read and just say, a bit warm tonight, isn't it? Or you could be in that icicle part of the Dante's Inferno where you go down and get really frozen. We've done that here before they built this plastic paradise for us. But the point of the story is that the game always changes and the story always changes. And that's what leads us out tonight. We were just talking before about my two heroes, Heisenberg and Heraclitus. To be uncertain means that you're not ever going to be too secure about your own opinions. And that's good because things change. And Heraclitus, you step and you do not step in the same waters twice. And Heraclitus was known as the shadow. And he was also known for fragments like Sappho, just fragments of philosophies. And I guess that's what we are. We are jigsaw pieces that make a beautiful picture if we actually want to see the big picture. But some of us hold our little pieces and think that's the full picture. And it's not, because every night is different. And every story is different. And we never know what the ending will be. The weird part is, this morning, I was brought here at that end table. My friend told me the story about the manager of that establishment wanting more police because of all the crime around headhunters. And I thought to myself, everything's a story. And the stories are whispered down to us. Our ancestors told us stories and they tell us, you came from the stars, but you're not supposed to remember that. You came from somewhere else. You have history in your bloodstream, but you can't remember your languages. You're going somewhere else, but you don't know where you're going yet. And by the time you get there, you'll have to make stories up, just as I'm doing now, just to be able to say, I was there at that night, at the last Maria's Taco Express. Awesome, awesome, Osmic, open mic.
Thank you, Thom and Scott on guitar. Yay! Well, I don't know if you are barred from the bar, but you are the bard of the bar.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Up to the bar we go.
Up to the bar we go. And I'm still writing 2012 on my checks. So,
that's so honest, yes. It's hard, isn't it?
It's hard, it's really hard.
March of time.
Well, it's getting close to Christmas, you know, and we poets tend to be a little bit less, I don't know, some of us are Christian-y and some are not Christian-y, but yes. But it does get to be a little commercial this time of year.
I'll buy that.
I myself, I consider myself a Christian, but a secular Christian, kind of a Gnostic. Those were the people who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls. Mm-hmm. And they didn't necessarily believe in all this...
Christmas shopping stuff.
Right, well that goes without saying, but they didn't believe in all this magic, you know, that, oh, you know, you have to believe in this certain thing or you won't get into heaven. They didn't believe in any of that stuff. They believed in the man himself, in Jesus himself and his philosophy. It was more like Buddhism than Christianity, the way they looked at it.
Right. And
that's kind of the way I am. And I remember being in Georgetown a few years ago with friends at their downtown Christmas celebration on the square, and there was a little girl on the microphone. Apparently she had written this song herself. Jesus is Lord, Jesus is Lord, no one forget that Jesus is Lord. I thought, gee, you know, this is supposed to be, I know that the part of the Yuletide that is Christmas is, you know, it's a Christian celebration, and that's fine. And I know she was a little girl, but the old carol, even though it's just as inaccurate chronology-wise, it was much more elegant. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day. Well, of course he wasn't.
No.
And I learned this in a Baptist Sunday school, no less.
Baptist, wow.
Baptist, yes. That early Christians and early Protestants in the United States even did not celebrate Christmas. Easter was the big Christian celebration.
Right, Easter's right.
And Christmas was it was really a pagan ceremony that was glommed on to Christmas. And nobody knew what time of year Jesus was born anyway. They didn't care. The Jews in the Middle East did not care about birthdays. They were busy just struggling. This whole giving gifts and celebrating birthdays was a Roman thing, and it wasn't until the Romans took over Christianity that it became important to have a mass on the birth of Christ. And they decided to put it in the wintertime on top of the Saturnalia, the old Saturnalia celebrations of the Romans, because people were celebrating it already, and symbolically it was about winter coming on, but spring cannot be far away, and the Yule log and the holly and the ivy, all these things that still were alive in the middle of the winter, gave hope, as in the hope for resurrection. So that's how all that came to be. But I still love Christmas, even though I don't really get Christmas presents anymore or give Christmas presents. My sister decided not to exchange presents like 30 years ago, and my parents, as they got older, I kept getting them coffee table books every year, and they were called coffee table books because they were the size of coffee tables, they were huge things.
Yep.
And calendars, and they said, don't give us that stuff anymore. And they couldn't handle it because they were in their 90s, and they moved to a retirement home, and so I haven't been getting or giving Christmas gifts, but I still get that joy this time of year. And I know it's old-fashioned, it's the whole Santa Claus thing, and and we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, but it still kind of gets to me, and I still think it's the most wonderful time of the year. I remember those old Andy Williams specials about that. And even though his wife Claudine Lange shot her lover, the skier, Spider Savage, still, Andy came back year after year and brought Claudine on the show. But no, I as Thom says, I digress. Actually, I just had some tacos that I digest. But, I think it's now time for one Scott, Vanya.
Okay. First, a one-liner, and this came to me, and I have to say the one-liner. I wanted to tell you guys because y'all are gonna get it more than most. It's not as easy as you think. Walking through life, somnambulant, but sometimes it helps. The other thing is, I'm gonna try something different.
Okay.
And I'll tell a short story. I went to Full English on Saturday.
Yes.
And it was a night of nights, as typical of Full English. You never know what's going to happen, and we embraced it as best we can, and we left it as best we can behind, because was the way it went. But there was a period of time toward the end of it where I think it started with Thom asking me to play guitar, and as the powers would have it, these powers that we haven't any clue about, I must have thrown myself into it, or they threw myself into me, or whatever. People were attracted to the mic as I sat on the side and played.
Yeah.
So I played my harp katana, and just as a footnote, when I play guitar, I don't play guitar like I think people think of it as an instrument. To me, it's just it's like something you'd play with in the sandbox. It's just it's a paintbrush.
Yeah.
I just paint with it.
Yeah.
Or write with it, you might say. So what I'd like to try tonight is to write with the guitar on my sets. And if I write something that attracts you to hear, feel welcome to come up and lend me your ear, so to speak. And we'll see how it goes. Because as has been the tradition for the last 6 months or so, I've been playing and trying to do two things at once, and that always makes me feel sort of ill at ease. I'd much rather do one thing, which is play my guitar.
Okay.
So I'll try that. We'll see how it goes.
All right.
Don't see where I put this because of my phone. Can y'all hear me in this?
Yes, quite well.
Can you hear my voice?
Yeah.
If I practice any religion, it's humanism. But way back, I think I must be a child of generations of humanism.
If I practice any religion, it's cubism. Look at the skyline. If I practice any religion, it's practice, because perfection can wait. If I practice any religion, it is a religion that is not a religion, because as soon as you say the word, everyone conjures up ideas that are fixed. And there's nothing fixed, not even a tent pole. The wind blows, what you have is wind. The earth shudders, what you have is fracking. What we do, we make mess everywhere we go. Sacred waters, pollute them. Plastic lives forever, radiation. Thermite, September 11th, Building 7. Deep in the shadows of our reptilian brains is a little evolutionary part of us that wants to say, excuse me, that myth is out of date. But then the crush of authority says, thou shalt believe. The one beautiful thing, or many beautiful things about this country, is the separation of church and state. Because in England, the Church of England is aligned with the government really deeply. They have prayers in school and everyone's in assembly. And sort of like here, the Texas equivalent is to love Texas. But apart from that religion, you're not forced into a religion. That's why you can have Baptists. And they can all split off into different Baptists. And Mormons, and they all split off into different Mormons. I mean, Waco was a part of the Seventh-day Adventist, and Joseph Smith, he was a polygamist, and recently a polygamist was able to get away with it because he was on a TV show, a reality show. Now, if there's one thing that's not reality, it's a show. TV is not reality, it's a conjured up compression of all the worst forces of the universe. You put them all in one show and say, conflict, that sells. So people are arguing and fighting, and everyone's watching it, and then the commercial comes on, they're selling something. But I digress. The point of our stories is to affirm those parts of us that still continue to express. And a lot of myths get very, very out of date. The myth of isolation, anomie, alienation, the myth of the island of our little selves, the ego. I mean, even Freud said there was a superego. I'd like to meet Superego. Yeah. I have come to rescue you from old mythologies. I am Superego. I hide beneath all previous mythologies. I am a remake of Superman, over and over again. But little us, all we have is free will, and that curious investigatory capacity called rationality, which coupled with intuition and empathy makes for our personality self-defense. The world is emergent. The world is emergent. The world is emergent, racing somewhere else. And they gotta get there really fast, because if they don't get there fast, things might happen. Happily, things happen anyway. I've met storytellers who were able to conjure up the Celtic mythology, and they went to places they talked about, Cornwall and Glastonbury. And in Cornwall I found little bushes by the sides of wells and springs and rivers where people had put bits of cloth for their prayers and petitions, and it was as if they were invoking the power of the river or the well or the spring. My friends took me walking down into the Cornwall landscape to this small little cell, and I mean it was 10 feet square, where a monastic had lived in the cell. And it was beautiful because at the altar part they had a little river coming through the chapel and out the other end. So it really was the waters of life. It was holy water. The water was holy long before they called it holy. And waters and springs were sacred long before we violated them and took the groundwater. And the land itself doesn't need to be called holy earth because it's the only earth we have. That makes it extremely unique and precious. And all these futuristic ideas that we can go off in a little ark and go to space and settle down somewhere are dreams without validity, scientifically, emotionally, psychically, and spiritually. We all long to go to perfection and paradise. We all think, I'll get there after I die. But why die? What a waste. Once, there was an English writer who was also a comedian, and he wrote a book called Stark. Ben Elton was his name. Wonderful comedian during the Thatcher time. And the idea was that a hippie and a punk and a scientist and a few other various archaeological ideologues went off in a little ark into space to take the human race to somewhere they could live. The moon, Mars, whatever dream is fashionable at the moment. And what happened? They all fought each other. So before they left, you imagine on Noah's Ark, I told you to take out the rubbish. I don't want to take out the rubbish. The animals in the suburbs fighting over role definitions. And the same is true for us. Once down Cornwall, they set up meant to be a recycling biosphere, it was called Eden, the Eden Project. The Eden Project is still there, but they could not manufacture a rainforest, which is what they tried to do. They tried to make a multi-species example so that on the space station you'd have a biosphere where you could tend your little garden and have things growing in space without what we have here, Earth. And it didn't work. Which goes to show that the myth has got to be a lot stronger before we can believe that we can leave where we are and make something better. I do not want to subscribe to the myth that we can have a moon base or a mission to Mars or sit on Saturn, except in our mind's eye. In that place, our imaginations mold and compound. In the land of metaphor and fable and myth, I'll believe anything because you don't have to believe it. It is just a story, just like this story. Will we stay on the earth or will we go to another land which is perhaps better than the land we came from? I don't know if there's anything better than South Austin. I don't know if there's anywhere better than Maria's Taco Express this Tuesday night. And I don't believe there's any better company than Louise and the wonderful Scott.
Aw, nice. Yeah. Still your turn.
Still my turn.
you know that we are the survivors.
Yes, we are.
We are real troopers. We are no fair weather poets. Last Friday,
Yeah.
there was an event.
True.
Osmic City.
Oh.
12, 13, 13 in Peace Park. Peace Wave in Peace Park. And we were hoping that there would be huge crowds. It would be a sunny day. And it was cold and rainy. But luckily, our the hostess, the organizer of the event, always thinking ahead, brought tents with her.
Present tense.
So we pitched up tents and we stayed under them, and we did not have huge crowds of people. We just had a few basic poets and musicians. But it was all taken down on video, and I think it will be on public access television soon. But we had a good time, even though our feet got wet, and we probably all got some kind of cold or flu or pneumonia or something. But we went through it. We went through it, and it was supposed to be it was 11 in the morning to 6 in the evening, and you know, a few of us were there the whole time. I slipped out at 3:30 myself, but I salute all my fellow poets and musicians. Thank you. And then, was it Saturday, the wassail? Or Sunday?
Sunday, I think.
And then
Saturday night was tea room, so you were there.
right.
And Sunday was wassail.
Sunday was wassail, and Thom, the world poet here, participated in that. And how did it go?
It was absolutely beautiful.
And
I'll do the story.
Yeah, and tell us later if you raised a lot of money and all that.
Yeah.
It was for Somali,
It's for Sudan.
Sudan.
The children of Sudan. If you look at the places that are extreme, Syria is the worst case in the world, then South Sudan, and then Sudan.
Right.
Places where deprivation and poverty is
Yeah,
so
a
extreme.
lot of problems on the Horn of Africa there.
Right.
Near where we all came from.
Yeah.
You know, that was the cradle of humanity right around there.
Yep.
And there is a song about wassailing. Now, wassailing was an old English custom where people would go singing, you know, they would be carolers, they'd go from house to house, but the host or hostess of the house would have a huge bowl of some sort of liquor mixed with fruit and fruit juices and things, and everyone would drink out of the wassail bowl and have a lot of fun. So this is a song you may have heard before about that. Here we come a-wassailing among the leaves so green, and here we come a-wandering so fair to be seen. Love and joy come to you, and to you your wassail too, and God bless you and send you a happy new year, and God send you a happy new year. We are not daily beggars that beg from door to door. We are neighbors' children whom you have seen before. Joy, you have to go back to the refrain. Love and joy come to you, and to you your wassail too, and God bless you and send you a happy new year, and God send you a happy new year. God bless the master of this house, likewise the mistress too, and all the little children that round the table grew. Love and joy come to you, and to you your wassail too, and God bless you and send you a happy new year, and God send you a happy new year.
Oh, well done.
Thank you, thank you. Did I spy another poet wandering in?
Wish on.
Okay, good. For now, though, I suppose we'll send it back to Thom and or Scott.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned wassail.
So this is a story about what happened, because for 11 years, Mundi, Daryl Myers, has get together all these jugglers and musicians and dancers and wonderful people to do a benefit and and it used to be at the Sri Atmananda Hall until that was no longer available. Then it went to Spider House, and now it's at the Scottish Rite Theatre, which is an astonishing theatre, because as you come in, on the back of the wall, they've got all the famous masons of Texas, and they're all of them. There's Houston, Lamar, there's Austin, there's Bowie. A lot of them are dead at the Alamo, you know, has the 1836 dead. But their portraits are there, and the degrees at which they are part of the Masonic tradition. Now that was a revelation by itself. But the theatre itself is like the 19th century Gilbert and Sullivan type theatres. It had backdrops that could come down, and they had a backdrop which was an Arcadian theme, you know, a bucolic country scene, trees and greenery. Now the band was on the stage there, 6-piece band, and then they had the dancers would go up the front of the stage, and the jugglers and the magicians would go up the front of the stage, and I'd slip in a poem or two, and then I'd get up there. Then the children would be called up on stage to put an apple on the tree, because the apple is, of course, a primal symbol of this time. And did you know that Avalon is called the Isle of Apples? And you can see it when it's fog morning in Glastonbury. There's around the tour, there's fog, so it looks like an island in the fog. Now, a woman did The Mists of Avalon, Marion Zimmer Bradley wrote that, and she lived in a little cottage which is still there down the base of the Tor. And according to mythology, which I love hearing, the Tor is the Celtic entrance to the underworld. And you go around it 7 times, so I went around 7 times, and you can go into the underworld. Well, in your mind you do. You really do, because by the time you walked around it 7 times, you're tripping. It's great. But, and from the sky, from an aerial view, it looks like a vagina. It's just amazing. No, it really does. It's amazing. So it is an entrance to the underworld, deeply in every sense of it. But I feel there's attraction there. And because apple trees grow all around Avalon, and because it is basically a Bronze Age swampland, and the only high part is the hill, the Tor, the Christians in the 10th century put a little tower on. They tried to make a church. Now the earth spoke. It struck that tower with lightning. St. Michael's Mount, struck with lightning. And the tower there has been hollow since that time. The Christians still claim it by putting the tower on top. But the earth people, they come and, well, meditate inside on top of the Tor. You get a beautiful 360-degree view of Somerset, which is one of the most beautiful parts of England, south of England. And you also get this wonderful feeling. The actual truth of it was, when King Henry VIII wanted the wealth of the monasteries, he simply confiscated them and shut them down. And one of them was Glastonbury. Now, Glastonbury, according to the stories, was where Jesus, little Jesus, during his learning times, up to the age of 33, came through Cornwall with Joseph of Arimathea, who was a tin merchant. And it was Joseph of Arimathea whose tomb was given by Joseph to Jesus when he died. So that links it very closely, but the stories are still there about how when Glastonbury was a tiny little village, Jesus came through there. And it's also tied to King Arthur mythology, because they say in the grounds are the bones of King Arthur. Now, of course, that may be just a way to get people to come to the Abbey. And I walked around Glastonbury Abbey, and the remains of the people were very practical. They stole the stones and built their homes around from the broken down monastery. So you got a few walls here, and they point to where the fish pond was, and where the bakery was, and where the little chapel was, and where the sleeping quarters were. And it is the actual Glastonbury Abbey. And the spot where they say was King Arthur's grave has got a sign on it, here lieth Arthur, and that. But it's questionable, like all myths are questionable. But the point of it is that there's water that flows through Glastonbury, the Chalice Well, and outside, and there are 2 forms of water. There's the white waters and the dragon waters, the red waters. Can you imagine 2 types of water coming from one source? That actually happens, and that water has flowed ever since there was in England. Now, people in the Middle Ages used to come there, and there are bathing ponds that are still there. They would wash the body, if they had leprosy or things like that, wash the body there as a healing. And those waters still flow out and you can drink from them, and there's a little free tap in the lane next to the gardens. And the gardens are tended by people who are psychic, and they wear the purple, and there's really, really nice people. And the gardens themselves are healing places. They're beautifully tended and kept. And the wondrous part of it is that Glastonbury itself is like entering another world. Just down from there, there's a very normal little village called the Street. Now, Street is what you might call the suburbs, but Glastonbury is where that woman was dancing in the town hall in Glastonbury, and we were there with the band. It was a magical time because that town is only one little high street, but it is a place that goes back to the Arthurian times and keeps the magic somehow, because all these people are attracted to it. Long-haired hippie freaks, musicians, artists, jewelers, craftsmen, they just make their way through the chairs, and they find their way to Glastonbury. Now there's a high street, and in the high street there's a little museum down the bottom of the high street which has got artifacts from the old days of Glastonbury. It's got an Olympus, which was a big stone where, probably pre-Christian, according to legend, the women's blood was put in the Olympus stone, and that was partaking of the earth and all things natural to the goddess. And Bridget has been Christianized into Saint Bridget, but it goes back to Egypt. Bridget, the original, was Hathor, goddess of smithing and of milking and of poetry. So on the tour, the remains of the tower have a couple of images still there, and one of them is of a woman milking a cow, which is Bridget. Now Bridget, there's a chapel to Bridget in the high street, and you go in there and there's candles and flowers. But recently, the last time I was there, they opened up the white springs. Remember the two types of water, the red spring, which is full of copper, very, very good for you, from the main garden, the magic garden, and opposite used to be shut down because no one was looking after it, but now the white springs are open, and I was so amazed because inside there's this spring and a round circular pond, and people were naked with tattoos and washing themselves and bathing themselves ritually, and there was an altar to Herne, the deer god, you know, and there were flowers and apples, which brings me to the wind-blown apples, the apple isle, Avalon, and that primal mystical magic that occurs whenever you look at an apple itself and realize by biting into that, you're biting into the world itself. The world is an apple, and we're all just slices of life. And our times together in Glastonbury were magical and full of love and flight and music and joy and hope and dance, and that's just a story, but it's also, it happened in our lives. Thank you for that, Patricia.
I don't know. Well, I have a drum on my keyboard.
Keyboard, yes please. Yes please.
Yeah.
Tonight is all things Yuletide, solstice and Christmas, and New Year's. There's a man named Alan Sherman who was the king of parodies, and he would take a song, usually a folk song or a popular song, and he would put his own twist on it. And probably my favorite was, I know a man, his name is Lang, and he has a neon sign, and Mr. Lang is very old, so we call it Aud Lang Syne.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And maybe toward the end we'll sing the real version of it.
Robbie Burns.
Robbie Burns. Oh, what's the power of the great gift he gives to see yourselves as other scenes.
Wow. Whoa.
Except I do that for a Scottish friend of mine, and she says it's all wrong, but what can we say?
Oh well.
Oh well. So,
Yeah.
do we have anyone who's ready and digested who'd like to come up?
Are you ready?
Yeah,
He's so ready. Good man.
You can stand or sit as you please.
sure, okay.
And your name, as if I should know it. But,
Jabo. Jabo. the
Jabo.
magnificent.
Jabo the Magnificent.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He is.
You
Remind-
nailed it.
That reminds me of
Yeah.
a film many years ago. It was before there was a Nova and a Nature on PBS, and before all the Discovery channels. One of the first really great documentaries, in this case it was about the circulation of the blood, was called Hemo the Magnificent. And if you saw the original Jurassic Park, they were kind of doing an homage to Hemo the Magnificent there with their little cartoon.
Wow.
But now we have Jabo the Magnificent.
Good to see you, Jabo.
Thank you. I do feel magnificent, but I didn't know anyone else would notice.
Oh yeah. Kind of hide your light under a barrel.
Thank you so much. Well, I did this one recently in terms of geologic time.
Okay.
This was in 1976.
Whoa. Yesterday.
In terms of geologic time,
Yeah,
that's
it's
recent,
nothing.
isn't it?
Yeah.
But a second ago.
Yeah. Jurassic.
Just a brief flick of
Flick.
the ago.
Yeah. Got it.
The darking of the bog. Have you ever thought what happens in that boggy, sloggy place when the dark comes and the leaves and vines look like some old black lace? Are the dark and bogs just partners like Los Angeles and smog?
Oh, good. Yeah, bog, smog.
Just what happens with the darking of the bog?
Yeah.
Well, there's one good thing that happens with the frog and with the lark.
Ah.
All of the larks
Yeah.
sit on the frogs,
Oh.
just like in New York's Central Park.
Oh.
Oh my, yes, it's quite important, is the larking of the frog
Yeah.
to the darking of the bog.
Oh, of course, yes.
There's another thing that happens with a log, and with a spark. When some sparker burns a log, it helps to point up the dark.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Yes, it's certainly important, is the sparking of the log
Ah, yeah.
to the darking of the bog. Now, the strangest thing of all is done by weird old Grandpa Stork. While he's standing on one leg, he tries to eat fog with a fork.
Whoa. That's hard.
Yes, this funny thing's important, is the forking of the fog
Oh, you must.
to the darking of the bog.
Oh.
The finest thing that happens takes a dog that barks at dark. Oh, I feel so safe and homey when I hear that doggy bark. Yes, by far the most important is the barking of the dog to the darking of the bog.
Whoa. Oh, deep down, man. Whoa, yes. Wow. So good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll sign up again.
Yep.
Okay.
Pat, are you ready to do something for
I
us?
guess so, yeah.
You mind getting up here? It's a small step, but
Yeah.
it's in the light.
I'll sit down in that chair and do something.
Are you Ben?
No, I think I'm. Yes.
Want to come around through the center? There's not quite so many cables in the way.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
We have a show here for you.
Thank you.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in for a treat. Miss Pat.
No.
Patricia. You like Patricia. I used to call you Pat in the old days.
Well,
Miss Patricia Fisk.
I became Patricia when I started writing poetry.
Yes.
Of course. It seems more
Yes, reclaim your
appropriate.
name. Full on.
And this needs, are you getting me?
Oh,
Okay.
we can get out.
Good. Okay.
When's the book coming out?
Very good. The book is coming out before the weekend, and I have cards that tell you,
Yes.
in fact, I will show you.
I can't.
It's called Secrets I Couldn't Tell My Children.
Please.
And it is coming out before the weekend. Yay! At last.
Yes.
Yeah. She was a mother, a wife, a poet, and a keeper of secrets. Now in her late 80s, she needs to tell it all.
Spill it. Oh, yeah.
And she does.
Yeah, oh, good.
Okay. I went back to the very first poetry book that I wrote before I ever knew what poetry was. I just wrote stuff, you know. I didn't know the rules I was breaking, so that was good. I didn't have to worry about anything. So here's one of my early ones called No Longer Amused. Remember when I tried each day to summon you with my will? You never came, I'm here to say, and that was a bitter pill. So I begged you to come and said, anytime. And when I said I meant it, now you appear without any rhyme or reason, and I resent it. I thought if I gave you the choice to show up when you wanted, you'd announce yourself with a pleasant voice. Instead, you shriek like you're haunted. You appear when guests are expected, and you know my house is a mess. I don't want you to feel rejected, but this failing I have to confess. If I stop my chores to embrace you, time will pass like a winking eye. While we're projected in space, who'll keep my house from resembling a sty?
Yeah.
I hate it most when I'm sleepy and you shake me into waking. Your gift of a thought, profound and deep, leaves me open-eyed and shaking. Your charm, oh muse, I can't resist. But in order for us to thrive, I absolutely must insist that you call before you arrive.
Oh, yeah! Who was that music she was?
I had so much fun writing these poems, and you know, I just didn't have any restrictions because I didn't know what I, what I was doing wrong, and
Oh,
who
yeah.
cared,
Yeah.
you know.
Who cared?
It's called Late Bloomer, and let's see if I can find some Oh, there's some downer ones I don't want to go into. There was a lot of therapy in this book, and it served me well. Let's see what I've got here. Oh, this was one that, I was in that period when, women's lib was going on, and this is called Click. Try to have an honest conversation with some men as equals and hear the macho gates click shut. I'm in charge here. Click. I won't show my feelings. Click. It will be as I say. Click. No wonder women weep. The frustration of click, click, click each time she tries to speak to his heart. He is blocked by fear of losing control. Click. Of appearing vulnerable. Click, click. Of sharing his power. Click, click, click. The only click I want to hear is the sound of two hearts joining, or the door as you leave me. So alone. Well, once I'm here, it's kind of an effort. This was one that I wrote for my mother. It's called Just Like a Young Girl Again. I feel just like a young girl again, my dying mother whispered. Her first lucidity for days, the result of my urgent plea, doctor, do something. His something, a futile blood transfusion, not pain-killing drugs talking now, but someone's youthful blood coursing through this wasted body, giving her transient hope. I feel just like a young girl again. And for a while, she believed me when I said she was not dying, but she was, and I was lying. She was dying. That flush of youth, so brief, left like a thief, with hope its captive. As I approached the age she was then, I often feel just like a young girl again, transfused by the joy juice of living. But all too often, the transfusion goes so soon, like a thief, with hope its captive. Old preconceptions intrude at your age, and I try for a while, until a rainbow or a starry night or a tender touch pulses through my being, and once again, I feel just like a young girl again.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I'll just stop there. More later.
Yeah, more later.
Huh?
Yeah, more later. Thank you, Patricia Fisk.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thanks, darling.
This doesn't look pretty, but it works.
You can do it, you can do it. As long as it works. That's right.
Okay. Oh, Jabo works better. Thank you, darling.
It's not me, no.
Kind of going that way.
Yeah, come over here. Now, Shirley, that
That's good, yeah.
It ain't fun. I don't have anything that sophisticated.
All right then. Thomas, would you like to come up again?
Sure.
I think we have a couple of other people. Is that Anyah? And there's David. Very good, very good.
Have you noticed how recently there's been a compounded and accelerated rate of extinction of people? We celebrate 50 years that young Kennedy Hope was done in Dallas, and then suddenly you have Mandela, the whole world grieving, and the madman mistranslating the sign language, and then you have Ray Price, you have Peter O'Toole, and you have Billy Jack.
Fontaine.
Joan Fontaine, wow. Rebecca, she was in Rebecca.
Yeah.
She was magical. And these are all what I call stains upon our mind, because we remember them when they were like 18, when Peter O'Toole did Lawrence of Arabia. Okay, he was so young, and the whole world fell in love with those blue eyes, and that sort of like eternal youth and that quest out in the desert. And then you see his last film, Venus, and he's a grumpy old thespian, and he's arguing with another old thespian, and they're sitting in a boarding house together, and they both find this young girl and they lust after her, called Venus. And neither of them will ever get her, but it's just incredibly powerful little kitchen sink drama that is totally contradictory to the epic screen of who did Lawrence of Arabia? David Lean, right? And then you have the widescreen Peter O'Toole in Merry Christmases to Lawrence, and in Beckett, okay, big widescreen full Richard Burton, blah blah. So they called him Hollywood. Now, Peter O'Toole was not Hollywood. He was the son of a bookie. He was Irish. He was English in the sense that he thought, what's the weirdest thing I can do? I'm going to live passionately. How do you live passionately? Well, the best place you can do it is on the stage. So he went to the stage and he was good at it. And then he realized, well, I can do this in film. So he put years into making these films that, well, not making them. But the point of the story is that they're always other people's lives he was portraying, other people's lines. So when he goes, and then Billy Jack, whose other name is almost forgotten, but the man who played Billy Jack in 2 movies, he goes the next day. I have to think, wait a minute, we've got about 9 films with Peter O'Toole in them, we've got 2 Billy Jack movies, but the difference is this: Billy Jack not only directed and produced, but everything in the Billy Jack movies came from his being, all right? Peter O'Toole put on the suit of other people's characters and played other people's roles to perfection, of course, but it was not him. So when tonight I listen to people's soul, when you speak your soul, that Billy Jack aspect comes out, whereby you're speaking your true being. You're not sort of trees and flowers and gardens and once upon a time distance, you know, space station poetry. It is the actual blood of our being and our lives sliced into moments like this tonight that makes us valid, and like our breathing, something like the air we have in common. You're speaking your life, and that's why my ears are open.
Thank you, Thom. Well, we started off with just the 3 of us, and now we've got a full roster here. Well, we haven't filled out all 20 spaces that I put in. As Scott told me earlier, that's very ambitious of me to do that. But here is the order now. Well, Thom, you kind of filled in while we were adjusting the order. But when we come back around to the top again, it will be Thom, me, Scott, Jabo, right?
Yeah.
Patricia, David Lester Young, Anyah Deshawn, and Fonty, who was here last week. Welcome back, Fonty.
Hey, our kids.
So now it's time for our own Benjamin Franklin, David Lester Young.
Send me the Bill of Rights. I'll pay. Thank you very much.
And he saved his penny earned.
Oh, very good.
I definitely got a gremlin going around with me. Flat tire and yeah, flat tire and all kind of different delays. So
You're here.
I'm here, and I got my 3rd Christmas card.
Yeah.
And it had poetry in it, so that was kind of special. So. Austin biorhythmic synchronization. Austin biorhythmic synchronization migrates love lyrics that drift, sailing soft earth and harmonics. Tune into that mental chill balm, bearing celestial currents calm, where when life vibrates a special tune within natural flowing celestial harmonics. A quill rain of pure tranquility flying high inside sensual peace, fluttering warm heartbeats rooted deep within medicinal healing, where earthen campfire hearth does grow to gravitate memory embers in warmth, cuddling sensation, rippling smiles, a musical levity, therapy that comforts the soul. When musical notes synchronize a divine melody, adrift awesome love proportions, ingrained in the mellow sounds of Mother Nature's surrounding, those sensual mental flights given butterfly rainbow wings, reverberating aloft natural insight, whereas dancing kites we prance this lyrical verse among swaying wind breezes, blossoming wildflower fragrances. We're in the mass circle of humanity. We complete the campfire celebration, linked together, hand in hand, sharing Mother Nature's offering in this auspicious Thanksgiving.
Thank you, David. Well, I should say that we're here at Maria's Taco Express.
We are.
For Oz Mike City 12/17/13.
Got it right.
And yes, I got it right for once. And earlier, we mentioned that we poets in Austin, Texas are no fair weather poets.
Yeah.
On Friday, Osmic City Day 12/13/13, we bared the elements, and our glorious leader, Anyah Deshawn, had the forethought to bring tents against the rain, the cold rain that fell on us, but we still muddled through, and Anyah was there for the whole time and even before.
So was Dave.
And if she is ready now, we would like to hear from the lady herself, Miss Anyah Deshawn.
Yes, I have to say, Ben, what is it? Well, anyway, there's in the title, but David Lester Young was there with me. Scott was there to help us put it up in the beginning, and Linda and Gordon. So we had a crew. I really didn't want to ask anyone to help because I knew at 7:30 when it was raining cats and dogs in Dripping Springs and I was trying to load the stuff on what Austin was going to be. And I said, no, it's not going to be raining in Austin. And at that time, it was not. So anyway, if you could have seen at the end of the day, the lights came on at Peace Park, and this was called Peace Wave at Peace Park, and it was on Friday the 13th. So I'll do this poem, and then I'll mention how beautiful it was to see, almost as if I went back in time, David Lester Young sitting in his chair outside of this brown tent and this amber light coming down from one of the light poles. The rain was drizzling and you could just see this warm silhouette, and I just thought, you know, from the kite to Peace Park, Ben Franklin was sitting there with me. I was like, oh my gosh. It was like going back in time. It was just, it was better than a Robert Kincaid painting. The camera couldn't take it though. It was too dark. It was beautiful. So this is in reference to Osmic City, Austin, Texas Day, and we did have the proclamation, and it is for promoting peace through cultural arts and education. And this is our second year to have the proclamation, and so last year we had it at Barton Springs Rock Garden in the park, and it was a sunny, beautiful day. This time we had quite a contrast, and it was just so beautiful. It was amazing. The 3-tent caravan that we had was if you want to know about tents, just to call me. I'll tell you which ones work and which ones don't, which ones you're going to have to put shower curtains up and to shield from the rain. God, it was cold. I think my feet are still cold. Who would know that a peace wave would appear and flow through Peace Park, Friday the 13th, December 13th, 2013, and with the blessings of the 13 indigenous grandmothers, 13 poets and musicians would appear from all parts of town, with ancestry that they have yet to discover, and yet all of their essence from as far back as the love silence that created them would flow in and out of them to contribute to this peace wave. Rain drizzling in the background, we heard Mayan, Peruvian, Nigerian, American, Spanish, Oriental, Gaelic, and all under this 13 by 13 canopy tent. What kind of holy of holies was created that day that will wave much stronger than any flag of any country? We healed the healers.
Thank you, Anyah.
13 by 13 canopy tent.
And I should have said that everyone can do as many as 3 poems or 3 songs. If your poems are the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Aeneid, you might want to cut 2 of those and maybe just do part of 1. But anyway, we were lucky last week to have Fonty with us, and he is with us again.
Fonty!
Fonty! In a little bit warmer circumstances, way warmer circumstances. Fonty.
Okay, I gotta over here. I'm gonna get away from these negative ones. I know I got some here at the front. This might be it. Oh, this will go. This will do. This one's called Single People. Single people buy the CDs. Single people go to clubs. Single people out on the Thom looking for someone to love. Single people support musicians. Married people support the arts. Married people take in a night of opera. Single people can't stand those old farts. Single people go out looking for someone to make their world all right. Married people been together so long they become pros at avoiding a fight. Single people go to the restaurants. Single people go to the bars. Married people eat in their houses. Married people buy new cars. Married people go out in couples. Single people travel in groups. Married people drive in fat sedans. Single people want to drive coupes. Sometimes married people act single and find that very soon they are. Sometimes single people get married and ride in the big black car. Married people live longer than single people do. They're wealthier, healthier, and more secure, not looking for a better screw. So if you're not liking your marriage, a single life's not for you. Take a look at the other side of the coin and then figure out what to do. Amen. Okay, y'all want to hear about Christmas? Ah, here it is. Now, I'm not a singer, and I don't play guitar, but this would have been a blues tune if it wouldn't have turned out a poem. Okay, the government man delivered me the blues for Christmas. The TV newspaper proved it's really true. They got you on the other side of the world last night. I'll never see another smile from you. Your mother gave me the news at Christmas. The tear in her eye proves it's really true. I lost you over there last night. I'll never share another kiss with you, honey. Grandma told me on the day right after Christmas, what it says there in the Bible is really true. When I get up to heaven, we'll be happy. But until I die, I get no more hugs from you, Daddy. I think about you all year long around Christmas. And I hope that what they say about it will come true. In the grave forever, we'll be together. But until then, I'll always be loving you.
Okay, so we're going back to the top of the order. Thom, the world poet.
Oh, wow.
Well, I promised this, so I have to honor my promise. This is the true story of tomorrow night. A lot of people, they do the poetry of the past. And we all know the past has already happened. What we're looking for is poetry for the future. A panacea, pharmacopoeia, a remedy, an idea. Sometimes they say it comes from way back when. Ideas have a genesis and they have a beginning. And there is the illusion of ending, like the ending of this year, which is actually a cycle that goes round and round, 26,000 years, the poles reverse, all the astrology has to change. But right now, imagine yourself outside the youth hostel in East Austin. It's maybe after Freddie's place from 4 to 6 where you go down there and there's a little raft of hippies. And they take you to this island called Snake Island. And on Snake Island, because there's a fire ban, there are little lights, electric lights and candles burning, and the sound of guitars playing, people howling at odd times for the full moon, our mother, because she's up there tonight laughing, as she'll be up there tomorrow. Whenever the full moon calls us, we are alkalites, we will go towards the source of light, which is, of course, a reflection of another source. Whenever the full moon calls us, all the poets, they climb up with their safety nets and they throw the safety nets into the abyss. And they live amongst each other as if it were a happy accident. Because on that island, for a short time, is an independent republic of the future. One time, full moon time, we go and find Fonty has set himself up there on the table and wonders who are these intruders. Little did he know that years ago they had made this a point of pilgrimage. Now, 3 or 4 cycles ago, the river police in their wisdom decided that no, you can't go to midnight and beyond. There is a curfew. 10 p.m. you can't make music after 10 p.m. so we all had to go home on a little ferry boat. But be that as it may, it starts earlier these days. 5 p.m. and some people go at 4. And they go to Snake Island in the middle of Ladybird Lake because they know that moon is shining forevermore. Now time itself is a variable constant. You can live a century waiting for a Capital Metro bus on Sundays. Or you can have a quick flash epiphany on the road to Damascus. Saul. Or you can wake up like T.S. Eliot and realize you were edited by Ezra Pound. Music is poetry after all. But Snake Island, tomorrow night, who knows what will happen? Who knows what souls will take flight? But I know I may see you there tomorrow night. Look up tonight, the full moon's already here, and she's calling. And you are poets, and you can hear her. Her light is a reflection of all that is light. We're coming, Mum. We won't be long. Life's a song.
Thanks, Thom. I'm going to read a few selections from A Christmas Carol. Now, the problem with a work like this that has been dramatized more than just about anything else, you get the story and you get some of the dialogue, but you don't really get the descriptions in the story, and I'd like to read some of those because Dickens was not too bad a writer.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby a writer. This is from when Marley's ghost has just visited Ebenezer Scrooge. The air was filled with phantoms wandering hither and thither in restless haste and moaning as they went. Every one of them wore chains like Marley's ghost. Some few, they might be guilty governments, were linked together. None were free. Many had been personally known to Scrooge in their lives. He had been quite familiar with the old ghost in the white waistcoat with monstrous iron safe attached to its ankle, who cried piteously at being unable to assist a wretched woman with an infant, whom it saw below upon a doorstep. The misery with them all was clearly that they sought to interfere for good in human matters and had lost the power forever. Whether these creatures faded into mist, or mist enshrouded them, he could not tell, but they and their spirit voices faded together, and the night became as it had been when he walked home. Scrooge closed the window and examined the door by which the ghost had entered. It was double locked, as he had locked it with his own hands, and the bolts were undisturbed. He tried to say humbug, but stopped at the first syllable, and being from the emotion he had undergone, or the fatigues of the day, or his glimpse of the invisible world, or the dull conversation of the ghost, or the lateness of the hour, much in need of repose, went straight to bed without undressing, and fell asleep upon the instant. Thank you. Once again, the stylings of Scott, Vanya.
Scott. I decided to do this one this way instead of the guitar. So here it goes.
Still doing the head. Yes.
No, I like that.
That's for you. I like it.
Yeah.
It's because I love each and every one of you. And I heard something earlier about vulnerability from twice over. This will be about vulnerability and for you two guys. Sometimes I feel so incredibly wealthy. No job, no money, unemployed for 2 years basically. Living off gift cards from my parents and handouts from friends. Yet I feel incredibly wealthy. And then in those moments, as in now, sometimes I want to be able to put my hands on it. I want to be able to hold it like I would hold your body or your face. It's a wealth of patience, insight, tolerance. Yet it only has value because others have it too. In each poet, there is someone who is able to enunciate their feelings. And whether it was they did it eons bolder time ago, or eons butterfly time from now, they will feel driven to use these and this to script out in black on white. They'll take what some might call nothingness and sculpt on a page or a computer screen something as simple as cat, or dog, or rock, or bone, or today or tomorrow. They will take what is back there in the youthful days, when our souls were forged and our bodies were birthed. All of that will come into the moment where they write a word. I don't know anything I think until I get to the stage and I speak it. I am a solid creature. But I, as well as you and all the poets who have ever lived, like to carve out of white blankness the sheer homogeneity of life. See a field or a tree with flowers on it, that to the grand eye are the same thing, and separate them into flower and butterfly, love and peace, war and hate. Because the fun is in the sharing of it. It's all about the playfulness. What I loved from the time I was 12 and 13 about Shakespeare, and to this day, when I hear Hamlet, I crack up. Because he so enjoyed the playfulness of it. The idea that we can take single people and make jokes of them. Because the joke tricks on our tongue and plays around with the light. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's more important than me sharing. Thank you guys for
Yeah. Thanks, Scott. Well, now it's time for Jabo again.
Jabo! Yo, Jabo, go! Jabo, yo! Jabo, go!
I just learned tonight
Yeah.
that Jabo is a PhD.
Yeah. Doctor of Happiness.
Of food.
Or what?
Of food.
Oh yeah, there's very good foot forward.
We used to call it piled higher and deeper.
Oh, yeah, very good.
Those of us who were jealous.
Well, I actually am. I'm a BS, MS, PhD.
Whoa.
Bullshit,
Yeah.
more shit,
Yeah.
piled higher and deeper.
Yeah.
I am really that. So yeah,
We can learn from you.
I learned from it. Yeah.
Wow. And we'll do it too.
Okay.
Down to Muhammad.
Okay. If I can sing into this.
you can. Yes, indeed. You need another chair.
Yeah, we can give you another chair if you.
No, I just hold this in my lap.
He's come to help.
Well, I reckon I'm gonna need this. Yeah.
For your voice.
Okay.
Take your pick. Go for it. Fantastic.
Thank you so much. I just need. I think I'm gonna need this one.
Very good.
One, two, all. One, two, oh, yes, yes, yes. 12 years ago, I was living in Marfa, Texas.
Wow.
It's very peaceful. There's lots of space
Yeah.
in Marfa, Texas. And I responded to all this beautiful space by having a peaceful place grow within me. So somehow this beautiful poem and this beautiful chord progression and melody grew within me, and I will attempt to do this for you in a way that does it justice. For you. Can you hear the keyboard?
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
A large part of this is about breath. For you, for you, a peaceful place within you, for you, for you. A peaceful place within you, waiting there for you to find, far deeper than a busy mind. Take a breath, a breath, a breath, and float away, relax, release, and then you'll know that place of peace. For you are more, much more than thoughts. And when you find peace within, you're not alone. That's where we are. One. sort of got it across.
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
I don't know if everyone can stay with us until 8:45 or 8:40, 8:45. But those of you who do, I'd like all of you to be up here at that time. It's still an hour from now, an hour and 15 minutes from now. And all sing Auld Lang Syne at the end of the show.
Can we take a photo?
We could take a photo. Does somebody have a camera with a timer and all that sort of thing?
This is the thought.
Yeah, if only Magic Jack were here, he'd take us a good photo.
He's got a camera. Fonty's got a camera.
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
Shoot us, Fonty, shoot
But
us.
that's later. That's later.
But they'll go. Okay.
She was a mother, a wife, a poet, and a keeper of secrets. Now, in her late 80s, she needs to tell it all.
Whoa.
The author of Secrets I Couldn't Tell My Children, a memoir. Patricia Sawyer's Fisk.
Whoa.
Hey, I can project. Do you mind if I do it from here?
Okay, we'll try to get you on video. That's the only
Oh,
thing.
you're trying to video. Okay, I'll make it.
And take all the time you need. We've got plenty of time here. Sometimes there needs to be setups for instruments and things. So take your time.
Yes. Well, I'm just reading out of this one thing, and maybe I'll be on the dog later, but some of these are kind of hokey. You know, I realized I was writing pretty hokey stuff back then, but that's okay.
It never stopped me.
This is called window dressing. We once were the objects of your lust. We basked in your hungry gaze. Youthful bodies, our top trump cards in that courting phase. Satisfaction for your libido determined your choice of a wife. We played our trump with strategy in this game of life. Snow-thatched queens have too late learned the error of our ways. Our youthful charms, once used as a trap, will haunt us for all of our days. You guys are craving your fruit too green, trapped by window dressing. You're so concerned with snow on the roof, I find it most depressing. So forgive me if I drop this hint for those still a-looking. If smoke is in the chimney, take a chance. Maybe she's still cooking. This is called On a Unicorn's Horn. I often find my poems full writ on the tip of a unicorn's horn. In a peaceful dell mid rainbows. I'm sorry, I can't see very well here. Shaded in a fragrant bower. But oh, the journey I must take to reach that enchanted place. Torn by brambles of doubt and despair. hack a path past critics, become trapped in an angry maze of convoluted thoughts, discarded. I'm sorry, I should put on some glasses maybe, because discarded ideas, mounds of moldy musings, and a stench throughout my mind. I forget my search, enchanted, take a nap, or walk, or swim. When I return, my mind refreshed, it appears before my eyes in a peaceful dell mid rainbows, shaded in a fragrant bower. I find my poem full writ on the tip of a unicorn's horn.
Woo, woo. Wow.
I moved to a place separated from my husband, and I was living across away from there, from my home, and I wrote this called Homesick. At last the sizzling summer has simmered down, and all the trees sport a golden crown, bright, unbroken blue above, a hue I love. The air is crisp, no wind at all. It must be fall. My spirit lures me out to dig the dirt. Digging dirt can cure one's hurt, calm one's hurt. I've always found that true before. Just don my scruffies and out the door, but no more. I sit stifled by walls where I merely rent my discontent. But across the river, I own a home with a yard that's calling me to roam beneath its shady dome to dig its loam. I'm lone sick for my home. Okay, I'm gonna stop, and this isn't my last thing. This is my sort of signature piece. Oh, yeah, I know. Yes, oh, yellow dog. Yeah. I woke up this morning with an old yellow dog draped around my brain, asking what ifs, posing if onlys, and humping my heart with problems. Now, time was, he'd stay there for days, weeks, sometimes months. Now, I know I have choices. I'll douse him with caffeine, ignore him, exercise, create, tune into inner light. And by then, old yellow dog's nowhere to be seen. I can enjoy my day. He's not shared with friends. Some have dragons dwelling in their heads. Don't need old yellow dogs humping their brains every gray morning. It's just my sad, bad habit. So, I guess I'll have to teach that old dog some new tricks. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, 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 oh,
Miss Patricia Fisk. Next up, he invented bifocals. He discovered the Gulf Stream,
Post office.
the post office, the lending library.
Yeah.
Our own Benjamin Franklin, David Lester Young. Hey. They tried to tell him he's Dave Young. Do-do-do-do-do.
Dave Young's a poet. Dave Young's a songwriter.
Yeah.
And Dave Young is many people. That's why I have to use my middle name.
Yeah.
Because all of them are kind of took my name away.
Yeah.
No.
Lester Young ain't so bad either.
Lester Young's pretty good. He took a part of my other thing. If I ever look at my whole name, David Lester Young, I get a lot of things Lester Young. I'm somewhat jazzy, but not that jazzy. But yeah, I can say that on Friday it was definitely a unique experience. That I felt a different type of cold than I've ever felt before.
To the bone, man.
Yeah, it kind of was shattering, you know. I felt the marble underneath me.
Yeah. You were cool, man.
Yeah. But it felt good, and every time I had the warm melody of somebody singing, and then right afterwards was the cold interlude. Oh. But I really enjoyed it, and that's what Austin Atmosphere and Austin is about. Vintage bouquet. Wilt thou flower a vintage bouquet with your poet persona that has weathered a fluent, aging so majestic within a vintage bouquet, where writers wrinkle thoughts that are set adrift poetic perfection, sensing sensual solitude in a rhyme-wrapped package, sharing a time-warp, peaceful presence. Poetry's wildflower blossom, so pure inside the quill tranquil heart, where inside the quill harmony, heartbeats are set aflutter in livid imagery that alliterates alike the bright melody, prancing in reflective reflections of lyrical composition that composes a poet's soul. To be that inspired, free-spirited poet that will take paths less taken, who will challenge the status quo within an inherited independent creed, that will never surrender a poet's free will, but demonstrates the true grit precision of PowerPoint penetration pronunciation in the poetic mastery of vocal vocabulary that makes vintage wine that savors poetry. The greatest gift a poet has is to create seedlings from within the mind that transplants into readers where it germinates to sprout creative roots. Within another generation that with age, with poetic pruning, where they create another vintage bouquet. My sweetheart, Christmas angel, darling, let me count the festive ways upon these ambrosial days where I can show you I love you upon a Christmas tree that shares our lifetime ornaments. This one is from our first Christmas. These were given by our parents. That Christmas time warmth is about being around family gatherings where, my darling, you are my centerpiece. Ornaments have blessed each newborn birth, being added in different stages of childhood, where we have aged together in such a love, that this Christmas tree does shine bright forevermore in sparkling reflections of its beaming ornaments. This one is from our first grandchild, that are added with each new addition, that this family Christmas tree branches from that first ornament, where each limb is covered with love, where, darling, you are my Christmas angel. And in that pinnacle of height, I love you, sweetheart.
So my eternal Christmas angel, where we will sparkle in heaven in passing, shining a light down to bless our Christmas tree in a family ornament. Cosmic wave sharing universal peace. Upon this tranquil Austin Peace Park land, let us together embrace to celebrate worldwide peace, where humanity's heartbeats are synced with Earth's harmony in a melody of love that germinates celestial tranquility, where cerebral blessed souls are truly blessed. Let us share this Austin atmosphere treasure within osmic peace waves in stellar harmonic proportions, where poetry, music, and the art of living rains down to create this Austin unique spirit. This creative persona spirit where Austin neighbors hug one and then another, sharing a unique bond of tranquil universal understanding. Share the Austin blossom of peace and tranquility, that it may germinate from this Austin Peace Park into a worldwide celebration to celebrate peace and tranquility forevermore. Thank you.
Very good.
Mr. David Lester Young, the arbiter of atmosphere. You know, I've looked up myself online too, and there are several Louise Richardsons. There are several people with Louise as a middle name. Most of them have, cured diseases and have been great lawyers and things. And then there's me, but that's okay. Yes, I have Googled myself, but of course not in public. Anyway, along with Thom the World Poet and Miss Patricia Fisk, this next young woman is one of the creators of this very event that we have 3 or 4 times a month. I'm talking about, of course, Anyah Deshawn.
Yes, it's come quite a way. Come quite. It's come quite a way.
And look what.
And low quite, high quite. Everyone quite. That was really beautiful, Debbie. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just, I'm going forward with this awesome and cosmic thing. And we will have another event May 2014. Don't know where it will be indoors. I would love to have it on 6th Street, upstairs in one of those little, Yeah. And that's possible. That's possible. And then the next event would be August the 9th and the 10th, which is the Osmic City Expo at the Palmer Event Center. So we will have a time for, we're going to have a stage, and so we'll have really good poetry, I'm sure. Yeah. So, looking forward to that. And then David reminded me next year would be 12, 14, 14. And the next one, 12, 15, 15. So.
Oh, you could do 12, 13, 14.
That's true. That's true. Well, 14, 14, I think, falls on Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. Anyway, okay. Sometimes in Austin there are these signal lights that seem to just go on forever, and what do you do?
Yeah.
Because you can't text, right? No text, so your mind goes off. It's just as bad as texting, or good.
Yeah.
So sitting at a small light, a signal light, that seemed to never change, my mind tuned into the music, the CD I was listening to, and I began to sing with it. American Indian. And this day and time, yo, hey, yo, ya, hey, wo, yo, hey, yo, ya, hey, wo. And then came the morning blessing. Wendy-ya-ho, Wendy-ya-ho, Wendy-ya, Wendy-ya, ho 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 ho, way ho, ya ya ya, Wendy-ya-ho, Wendy-ya-ho, Wendy-ya, Wendy-ya, ho 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 ho, way ho, ya ya ya. That was the morning blessing for abundance, and I thought, boy, I could listen to that all day, over and over, roll my window down, singing out there, abundance, everybody. And then I went back into my thought. I had pushed so hard, I thought, to get things going this year. I almost forgot what the purpose was. But I was way too deep to stop, I thought. And then I was abruptly awakened by someone honking their horn in a rage. I saw the light was green. Honk, honk, honk. Looked at the light and go, it said. I'm green. You can go. I'm green. That means no obstacles. You can cross. Others will wait. It's your turn. Now pay attention as you pass through life's intersection and look at the changes since you last noticed. Buildings for lease, trucks passing by with furniture loaded up to the hilt, tied down. Time to move. Time for change and moving on. Change the radio station, change lanes, change gears, change hands on the wheel when you turn. All is change. And all is well in time, always. And all is changing during the day and night. You've just crossed an intersection that will be a highway soon. And signals and green lights will be a thing of the past, like telephones that were mounted once on the walls, with ringtones, with the cranking of a handle, and party lines where you can hear what everyone doesn't want you to hear. And we replaced those dial-up French-style phones with sensors that detect eye movement. Did it take all these years for someone to figure out the eyes, which are the window to the soul, can now become a major function of a phone app? We no longer ask, how do I do this? We ask, how do I find the app for this? An app that can tell us which way to go so we can connect with others through our hearts? Would they be called Connection of Hearts app? When our mind combines with our heart, this app will make millions for what should be for free. Honk, honk, honk.
Thank you, Anyah. Well, speaking of streetlights and things, I remember way back in my youth, I'm always talking about the early days of television in Austin, but we had way back then only one television station, KTBC, which is now the Fox affiliate. But back then, long before Fox, it was the CBS, NBC, ABC, and Dumont affiliate, when there was a Dumont network. And then later it became the CBS affiliate, and then KBVO channel 42 came along, and at some point they switched. The KBVO, which was the Fox affiliate, and KTBC, which was the CBS affiliate, switched networks. But way back in the day, back in the 1950s, they had to fill a lot of airtime. And my favorite show back then, I think it was my favorite show, was when they just put the camera on the traffic light at 10th and Brazos, where the TV station was, and you just saw the traffic. You saw people pull up to the light, and then the light changed, and then they'd go on. And they do this for like 30 minutes, an hour, I don't know how long it was, and then they play music. And sometimes it would be in the rain, and you know, I miss the simple joys of early television. But now I would like to lead everyone in a cheer. I was never a cheerleader, but I would like you to to go along with me here. Give me an F.
F.
Give me an O.
O.
Give me an N.
N.
Give me a T.
T.
Give me a Y.
Y.
What does it spell?
Fonty.
Fonty.
I should say, I just read every single thing I had in this book. I picked the wrong book when I left. I really don't have another piece of thing to bring up right now.
Memory.
Oh, my memory's shot. You don't know that. I mean, anybody smokes as much as I do has no memory left.
Oh, you remember that you don't.
Welcome to the club.
All right. Well,
But thank you. I like the intro.
Oh, well, yeah, you're welcome. I didn't waste it, did I?
No.
Oh, wow.
Okay, well, let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah.
A very good place to start. Thom, the world poet, and Scott Bunyan.
3 dreams. The first dream from 15 years ago, Deb Akers. Of course, you may know, because last Thursday at Bookwoman there was another reading in remembrance of her, because there's been 3 editions of that book you've got, Jabo. The first was for all the people who knew and loved her, and that was 300 books. The second of 200 was for people who need to know about her. And the third, which is a 3rd edition, is for people who have no clue there ever was a Deb Akers. Her most famous poem was, of course, Red Shoes, and that was read by Cindy Heiser. But when my postman came up 2 days ago, I handed him a copy of the book and said, read the one about the post office on South Congress, about the guy from New Orleans coming in and saying, Mon chéri, I am going to Mardi Gras, would you accompany me in the dance? Or read the one about the fox on West Mary, that flashed across West Mary. And my postman's an intelligent man, and he took the book and he smiled and realized that poets sing the time and the age and the space with geospecific truth of the frequency of their own life attuned to the lives around them, threaded like a tapestry. The second dream is, of course, this is the birthday of Albert Hoofstikler, who introduced Patricia to poetry. And in his memory there is a reading tonight at a new bookstore, which is fantastic. They're opening bookstores in Austin. This one on 28th Street, I met the person who was doing it 3 years ago, and I said to him, why don't you do your dream? Why don't you make it? And he said, I'm going to, Tom. I'm going to. I just have to. I said, no, you don't. Do it. So he did it. And the bookstore exists, and it's the second reading they've had, and tonight will be full of all the circle of Joe Hoppy and David Jewell and Sylvia Manning and all those people who will be there to remember Albert, because Albert was the people's poet of this town. He sat on a park bench and gave poetry away. He volunteered at the State Hospital. He was an artist, and he was fascinated by the goddess Mother Mary. And he used to read the old Rudimaya, he used to read at Quacks, he used to read La Dolce Vita, he used to read at all these little inner urban places, and he kept that flame of public poetry alive. And when his last reading, just after he left his flesh, saying, I want to go somewhere better, as if there was anywhere better than Austin. Hyde Park Theatre was completely full of poets. There was a line out the street, and that only happens when you die. You can only do that once, unless you do it on stage. So I remember the best of his poems was one called Listen to Your Life, and this is just a small fragment of it. Before the day starts, before you ride the train of the day, it's best to stop and wait. Wait for your life to come. It might come like a train of thoughts that's going to pick you up and carry you somewhere you've never been before. It might come slow as a derailment that keeps you attuned to the body you're in. Whatever speed it comes at, you must wait. Because if you jump into your life without thinking, it may not be your life that you're living. You might be stealing other people's dreams without knowing. Listen to your life. It's a dream that's waiting for you. And the third, of course, is the present poet, Patricia. Patricia for years has kept troops together, was a puppeteer, actor, is in Texas films, and has constantly been what I call a spark battery to the life force of the people around her. Wherever she is, there is a circle of joy, artists, painters, sensitive, engaged in the continuing conversation of life itself. Now, a lot of people think that art is the object. No. Art is a process. As the Eskimos say, we have no art. We do everything the best that we can. And that is the breath, the prana, the chi, the ka. That is what animates us. And we wouldn't be here without Patricia negotiating with Maria and saying, would you mind if we had poetry? And so because of her direct contact, we're here with gratitudes for the continuing evolution and the secret of her clarity to say it's time now to release all these things that I was part of many years ago. And I was part of the New York scene, and I knew Harry Belafonte, and I knew these people way back in the Cotton Club days. And I was part of those scenes then, and part of the scenes in Austin here. But now, most of all, living, breathing, creating, sharing, exploring. How fortunate we are to have that dream among us. Thank you, Patricia.
Yeah, we'll have it up there. I don't know if you can be my accomplice if you like. I'm going to read some more from Christmas Carol. You know, they say when Charles Dickens was a baby, he was a cute little Dickens.
Oh, Dickens. What did Dickens?
I have no shame.
None.
Yeah. Boom, boom.
No,
Well, this is another part of the Christmas Carol. The ghost of Christmas past has taken him back to his childhood and his growing up days. They walked along the road, Scrooge recognizing every gate and post and tree, until a little market town appeared in the distance, with its bridge, its church, and winding river. Some shaggy ponies now were seen trotting towards them with boys upon their backs, who called other boys in country gigs and carts, driven by farmers. All these boys were in great spirits and shouted to each other until the broad fields were so full of merry music that the crisp air laughed to hear it. These are but shadows of the things that have been, said the ghost. They have no consciousness of us. The jocund travelers came on, and as they came, Scrooge knew and named them every one. Why was he rejoiced beyond all bounds to see them? Why did his cold eye glisten and his heart leap up as they went past? Why was he filled with gladness when he heard them give each other Merry Christmas as they parted at crossroads and byways for their several homes? What was Merry Christmas to Scrooge? Out upon Merry Christmas, what good had it ever done him? The school is not quite deserted, said the ghost. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is still left. Scrooge said he knew it, and he sobbed. They left the high road by a well-remembered lane and soon approached a mansion of dull red brick with a little weathercock surmounted cupola on the roof and a bell hanging in it. It was a large house, but one of broken fortunes, for the spacious offices were little used. Their walls were damp and mossy, their windows broken and their gates decayed. Fowls clucked and strutted in the stables, and the coach houses and sheds were overrun with grass. Nor was it more retentive of its ancient state within, for entering the dreary hall and glancing through the open doors of many rooms, they found them poorly furnished, cold and vast. There was an earthy savor in the air, a chilly bareness in the place, which associated itself somehow with too much getting up by candlelight and not too much to eat. They went, the ghost and Scrooge, across the hall to a door at the back of the house. It opened before them and disclosed a long, bare, melancholy room. made barer still by lines of plain deal forms and desks. At one of these, a lonely boy was reading near a feeble fire, and Scrooge sat down upon a form and wept to see his poor forgotten self as he used to be. And now, and now, a little bit more cheery from Scott Vanya.
I've recently started, I think everybody here is on my mail-out list, I think, except Jabo and except Monty. I've recently started distributing in my emails something I'm calling the voice of Austin. I love where I live. I love the people I live it with. Since it's not my place, I don't own it. It's just something we share. And if we're all lucky and the moment happens, then I'll share some of it in song. First we have to find what the tune is. I'm probably just like anybody else. Probably. Maybe not. Only in the sense that everybody else is just as exceptional as I am. I happen to know what I like. When I step in a shower and it's too hot, I turn it down. I like whole milk, not 2%. I like sugar in my coffee. I like hand-rolled cigarettes better than not. I like live poetry the best.
Yeah.
I like living people better than dead, though the great majority is all dead. I like the scene in The Little Buddha when they're all at that pavilion and it's a dome. It's a dome and there are prayer wheels surrounding it. And one of the monks says, "Look out! See all these people circling the prayer wheels with their hands so adamantly touching it, giving their prayers, and there's a child running around. He's just recently found a friend. He says, you should think, because 100 years from now, none of us will be here. He says, that's impermanence. This morning we all woke up, even though half the planet right now is sleeping. The voice of Austin is one where you can sit, do absolutely nothing, which my daughter doesn't think is possible. My son doesn't think is possible, but my daughter says yes. You can do it, Ian. And you can feel, or at least you allow yourself to feel, every city member's shoulder against yours. Every joyous child's laughter issuing out of your every breath. The voice of Austin means you can go to an open mic, listen to over 120 poets like I've done, capture them all on film, and know that there's a single love coming out of every single one of them. And I admit they all sound different. Fonty sounds different than Thom, and Jabo sounds different than Patricia and Ben and Anyah and me, Anyah and me. But the love for it, the love that says, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to be silly, we're going to wear tattoos over half our body, we're going to drive cars that cost $100,000. We don't care. Because we accept I got rejected so many times in my poetry, I decided, yeah, I don't think it's worth it. So I started publishing on the internet. Nothing rejection there. The voice of Aud Syne is a very simple thing. You hear it? That was it. Yeah. I come to open mics because there are people who love me at them, and I love them. I love anybody who would have the courage or lack of reason to get up on a stage hang on a second, I think this is the guitar part. And allow themselves to be heard. It's why I say freedom of speech is not a right, it's an obligation. Inside every single human spirit is somebody waiting to tell their story. And every single individual human being, and I'm going to tell you first off, tomorrow I'm going to be a bird. Outside, that's what I'm going to be tomorrow. Or a rock or a fish or something. But tonight I'm a human being, so I'll speak to them. Inside every single human being, there is an eye looking out, dumbfounded, dismayed, confused, happy, joyous, excited. That's why we have poets, to list all those words and write them in different poems. I think poetry makes the world a better place. I don't know how many souls it saved, me being one. Thanks for listening. Let's let the guitar finish up for a second.
Scott, and thanks for accompanying me. Yeah, that's great. Well, Thom just told me that we got a tip. I think I can split this 8 ways.
If we had one more, we could make a baseball team.
There you go. That's true. There are 8 of us here.
Put a Franklin face on it.
That's right. That's right. Well, now it's time again for Jabo, if he has something for us.
Yes, he has.
All right, Jabo.
You want to change? Yeah, he had a question. I was thinking something. Yeah. You want to change?
Oh, the bear, the fair, the chair, and the bear.
Yeah, that's it.
The light and the fight.
Yeah.
The leg and the leg, the legs, the light, the mouth and the cell. The mouth and death and the hat, the bat, the dad. Patricia and the dad and the stand, the band. I think the grand, the fan, the band, the clock, the sock, and the bark, and the bark, and the stand, and the dong, and the fong, the glong, and the long, the bong, and the dong. Well, the mic, and the grike, and the psych, and the psych, and the fike, and the bike, and the talk, and the Austin, and the voice, and the goice, and the voice, and the guitar, and the ceiling, the leaks, and the freaks and the geeks and the peaks and the freaks and the dog and the light and the shoe and Mike the boo and the you and the me and the free and the bee. I think with the bee and the light and the bulb and the gulb and the hub and the gull and the flies and the guys and the gals and the bells and the house and the gals and the howls and the mouths and the mouths and the nouse and the nose and the bows and the hows and the freaks and the geeks and the ears that gets cold and the bold and the node, I think, and the boat and the wallet and the fault and the garlic and the bills and the hills and the nils. Yeah, might as well the bricks and the hicks and the Robert and the country boy and the toy and the Floy and the goy and the mics and the camera and the mamma and the gamma and the beat and the navel and the gavel and the havel and the gin and the hair and the bear and the hair when I'm on the bear. Oh, yeah. Well, might be the hair and the bear and the bear. Whew. Well, I think and the hell and the dill and the bell and the smell. Well, might be the shirt of the bird and the shirt and the mic. 2 mics, one each in the hand, and the man of the band. I ate the bear and the smell of the salad and the ballad. And the ballad I sing was the thing when I bring and the chords and the boards and the snords and the bake and the snake and the bake and the snake. Are they thinking the chair? I may have run out of rhymes in the times. I think I'm slowing down. It may be the time for me to sit on the ground. I'm up in the sky and I'm halfway here. And it's time for me to go finish my beer.
The man is a poet! Jabo, Ms. Patricia Fisk, do you have some more for us?
Oh, I think I'm gonna pass on.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
I'd like to suggest if we want to take a picture, we
Let's
just
do it. Yeah.
Do it now?
Yes, because I can't
Okay.
stay
Well,
at the
it will be video rather than a still picture, but I can make a still.
So, I've got a
Oh, you've got the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just say Kiko's closes at 9. I have to do work.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, well, we have to be out of here by 9 too.
This
So.
would make a
Yeah,
lovely
please, let's-
background.
It would, yes. Let's do it. Let's everybody come up and take a picture and
Y'all just all go over there and I'll.
you compose it. But don't you want to be in it too?
Well, I don't have any way to mount it. We can stick it on a tripod if you want.
Oh, sure, sure.
I have a little one.
Oh, you got a little one? That'll work.
He's got an extra tripod.
yeah.
Are we taking pictures of all our sounds? Will that work? Will that work?
Yeah, sure. Make it work. Oh, that's a really low one.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
tabletop.
going to pause the video cameras while we do this.
To do anything.
I think I did.
I made the mistake of trying to upload my phone.
Oh, well, yeah, we have more time. We're,
45 pictures, it only did 37.
let me see what time it is. Should have a good half hour to go, I think.
Somebody's tripod. Is your tripod?
It's 8:22, so we still have some time here.
Well, I'd like to stick around, but I do have to go print some.
Okay, it was great that you were here.
I'm glad I made it.
2 times in a row. Yay.
That's more consistency than you should be expecting out of me.
Fonty, Fonty, Fonty. Okay. Well, it's time again for the man in the 3-cornered hat. A penny saved is a penny earned, Ben Franklin used to say. A savings account he would surely have if he were here today. Our own Benjamin Franklin, David Lester Young.
Perfect rose blossom. One stands as this poet before you, upon a stage that evolves full of life, with words flowing with conviction, in a world full of changing contradictions. Personas strive for stages of perfection. They seek success as an individual validation, while failure builds up characters in imperfection that uses building blocks for personal redemption. Poets are the most perfect rose with this flaw, where poetry is like Swiss cheese, holy to fall into, where one person follows a trail along thoughts, another sees the quagmire path of poetic shards. Most peoples are the devil's advocate, not of evil, but making readers open minds on trails less taken, where narrow minds become broad-minded, liberal, in that they then perceive things from all angles. Poets are not dire dictators, but mental motivators. They teach the wide diversity of the human language, where individual independence can then be attained, where each reader becomes that perfect rose blossom. For only then can the poet wilt on the years, full of tears, being pressed as a departing rose inside a Bible verse, closed pages. Shakespearean seduction. Shakespearean drama does embroil words, sworn inside lovers' thorns, among twisted sagas of intertwining desire, where lust sets verse on fire. Hypnotic sense in reflections, incensed by sonnet cadences, bearing arousing words in rhythmic poetic patterns that resonates in histrionic personification. Poetry's aura of forevermore, set adrift in literature's PowerPoint stage presence, in sensual vibrations of meter and rhyme, singing aloft woven weave verses, in stanzas that beguile love's mystery, in feminine love me not, that meanders the bed spring's pleasure of to and fro metrical movements. Oh, the woe in a woman's moan that weathers a man's groaning transgressions within the alabaster white ivory soft breast of Shakespearean seduction. Satirical tragedy of vices and follies in masculine and feminine fantasies that bemoans the groans in bewitching liaisons of puritanical partaking, that from the beginning roots of the poetic English language, Shakespeare did stimulate the strength of romantic rhyme, among enticing romance theatrics, that verse that has endured the wrath of time in the swath-bearing poetic rhyme. That love has formed literature's epic climaxes upon the lip movement's sensual sway. To be or not to be a poet, that is the question. We're all the world's a poetic stage. That you are a lover of poetry, to borrow Cupid's wing. What is in a name if thou hast not loved Shakespearean verse? Who taught thee how to make me love thee more, to love the mastery of literature first in Shakespearean seduction? Swinging back in time, swinging back and forth, adrift thought processes, shifting back aloft memories that share past tenses, tree swing rooted inside youth that is being reprocessed, swaying into and fro reflections upon the swinging senses, city resident coming back home to quill within interior dwellings, where countryside serene mellow moods bear warm serenity, fluttering a light breeze in wildflower meadow bombs, in swelling tranquil heartbeats, remembering that pleasant childhood amenity. Innocent smile brings back jovial times, cavorting barefoot free, meandering beside a creek where a tree swings adrift gleeful sound. Fancy-free splashing feet over embankments share a daydreaming glee. To look around and strip away, to skinny dip with a dashing bound. Heartbeat swinging in sync, to merge mellow inside rhythmic rhyme. When souls congeal to tan warm in countryside harmony radiance. Expelling aging negativity with tranquil, revitalized medicinal timing that reincarnates memories that will swing forevermore in resonance. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And now, one of the founders of our feast,
Anyah.
Anyah, what is she on?
There's an A on the table.
You guys have a nice night.
Hey,
Good to see you, man.
sorry to miss you, Anyah. Nighty-night. Oh, well.
You go to
Working out.
you go to the reading room.
So since we have the full moon, I'm going to read a poem that is called Mother to Mermaid Waters. In the primal waters upon the earth, there is life that is vibrant and pure, with neon glowing, flowing fish, and coral breathing and waving with each swell of the tide as the moon lullabies the earth. With every underwater wave, schools of neon-striped tiny fish dart back and forth with curiosity, more so in the bright and full moon. And many moons ago, they have said, one creature leapt out of the waters with a great splash straight up to the moon, and the moon gave a wink. Only the creature did catch and see. The creature with trestles of water streaming from its graceful silhouette form returned with a driving plunge to the depths below, where she lives and breathes. And even today, hidden under the surface of the sea, the creature teaches her sisters and the schools of fish how it is to be human. And this she learned from what she was given while in her glance conversation with Sister Moon on a clear night. And the creature lives still in waters deep, where she lingers to teach those who will gather around her. And one can hear the dolphin and whale sing her special enchantment, Sister Moon Lullaby. This creature is of grace and compassionate beauty. She is mother to mermaid waters.
Okay, there's still a quorum here. And to quarrel with our quorum is Thom, the world poet.
Okay, all right. Is this the wrap-up one? Is this the wrap-up?
I'm still 15 minutes.
Repartee. They pack it inside. That's just what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, good.
So, okay. A lot of people will say this is the greatest is today. I say we're just beginning. I know people lean backwards and they say the past. I say no, the future singing. And you can hear it, this vibration, if you really deeply listen. It's within your being. Of course, there's connection, one radio signal, one receiver. And sometimes the response is more important than the signal itself. For the depth of perception increases our reception. All of us are part of the same field of inquiry. And time stops. You know how time stops when you really devote your attention to something. Wherever you're walking, you'll get there because the journey is, of course, the destination. So those who compare fail to see that everything's unique. And those that recall only recall selectively. And if they say that life isn't as the experience and we don't fit the standards, well, we say change your standards. Because the human is the species that we're part of. We're not fish or birds, except in our mind's wings, and that's fine for imagining. But when we dream in skin, and these bodies sing acoustic. So when Walt Whitman or Robert Frost rises up and says, that's wrong, I say, Rob, you're gone. You had your time. We ask the living to sing our world in, because being is everything. And the depths of our commitment to this moment now brings it down to the diamond formed under pressure. Form of light, you're whole valuable. The light it holds is a reflection of what you value. Mirror to a mirror stand, echoing infinities again. No limits, no laws, no visas, no passports. Birds have wings over every barrier, and so do thoughts, and dreams, and feelings. Because we're going to meet again in convocations, assemblies, convened by ourselves for our own purposes, intrinsically as breathing. Tomorrow at Freddy's place. Friday at Share Your Stories. And Saturday solstice all over the place. APS 1:30. And then of course the Green Man Cafe. And then of course tea rooms or Anyah's wonderful celebration. The more the merrier. More fires burning, the more hearts yearning, the more vibrations of peace waves and cosmic worlds will liberate all of us. one can never do it. The reliance on the leader is a dangerous delusion because the leader's inside. And all of us sing to each other because there is an equality in the daring and the expedition to go into the unknown with no safety net. So whether we're in a city park freezing together, or here freezing at Taco Maria's on Tuesday night, or freezing in any other place or time, we freeze together. And the warmth keeps us alive.
Okay, I'd like everyone to come up here. We won't be here on New Year's Eve, but I'd like us all, the remainders of us, the core, just sing Auld Lang Syne.
Young Lang Syne.
Yeah.
Old.
That's true. Here we go. I know the words. I know.
Just take it.
Actually, I'm not going to.
It's like I used to do in
Jeez,
chorus.
Scott, your voice has changed.
Good kiss better.
You kind of sound like Louise.
Oh, that's right, we do have the
Words.
Oh, this
words.
is
Oh,
okay. Fantastic.
Well, I can do
Should all
Fred.
mentions be forgotten?
Okay.
Tom.
One more.
One more.
All right, as long as you don't turn it upside
I
down.
won't do that. I think I have one that you gave me.
Yeah. I got one. Yeah.
Another brown.
Okay. In other words. Okay.
Ah.
All right.
All right, there should be no excuse.
Not at all.
Thanks, Guilty.
Okay, everybody.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot for Auld Lang Syne? For Auld Lang Syne, my Joe, for Auld Lang Syne. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. And surely you'll buy your pint cup, and surely I'll buy mine. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, my Joe, for Auld Lang Syne. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. And there's a hand, my trusty friend, and give a hand of thine. We'll take a right and good draught for Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, my Joe, for Auld Lang Syne. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne.
Is it just me or are we all getting drunk in this time?
It's a good song to be drunk with.
That's what it's drunk.
Drunk.
A goodwill drunk.
Anyway, thank you, Maria's Taco Express.
Thank you, Louise.
Thank you, Pod. Oh, sorry, I just hit a part in the head.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. And thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Oscar, for setting up our equipment again. Yay! And we'll be back in 3 weeks, the
tomorrow.
second
Okay.
week in January.
Yeah, I think I'm supposed to sing in my car.
God willing.
Trunk.
Good night.
Take it.